everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Listen, you guys, summer is finally here, and for anybody that knows me, you know that I am very excited about that because I hate the cold. And where I live is finally starting to actually act like summer, even though we've been in summer for a week, and it tried to be summer a while ago, and then it decided to be winter again. But hopefully it stays acting like summer. Anyways, now that I've been done with my tangent, today we have a very exciting video because it is finally time, as promised, for me to do my giant sunscreen roundup of all of the sunscreens that I have tried this year. And for those of you that don't know, you should be wearing sunscreen every single day ever. But summer is generally when we tend to think about sunscreens, and if you want to know why you should be wearing sunscreen year-round, go ahead and check out this video right up here. So it is time for me to show you guys all of the wonderful, beautiful things that are a lot of sunscreen, so strap yourselves in. So another thing that I do want to mention is you guys know that I don't use US chemical-made sunscreens or chemical-based sunscreens. However, I do have a few of them in this lineup because I got the Sephora Sun Safety Kit, so I went ahead and tried those out. I would not recommend that you guys purchase them. However, they will work slightly better on deeper skin tones. But the main sunscreens that I'm going to be going over are either US mineral or Korean chemical, because Korean chemical filters are a little bit better at everything. They're just better than what we have here in the US. So, however, if you can't get access to them, I do have some amazing US mineral sunscreens as well. Last thing before we go ahead and jump into this video is there are a lot here. So these aren't going to be full reviews. They're just going to be little small breakdowns of each product. I'll go ahead and show clips of how they apply and everything like that. However, these are just going to be very small breakdowns of the products. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we're going to start with US chemical sunscreens first because I just want to get them out of the way. So the first one up is this little tiny baby guy. Like I said, I got a kit of a whole bunch of sunscreens, so a lot of these are sample sizes, but this is the Lancome UV Expert Aqua Gel Defense 50 sunscreen. It's a long name, but it's an SPF 50, and it's supposed to be like a primer, moisturizer, sunscreen all in one. I wouldn't use it that way. I believe that you always need a separate sunscreen. However, since this is US chemical, there is no white cast for those of you with deeper skin tones. I know that that's very important, and it's very nice to not have a white cast to a sunscreen. I will show you some sunscreens that have horrendous white casts later on. This does glide onto the skin really easily. It feels very lightweight. However, there's a really heavy fragrance to this, and since there is those US chemical filters in there, I did find that it burns my eyes. Next up, we have the Dermalogica Dynamic Skin Recovery. This is also an SPF 50. However, it is also a US chemical sunscreen. You know that I'm not going to recommend these to you guys. However, once again, there's no white cast with this one, which is really nice. It is slightly oily applying it, but I found that that went away after about 20 minutes, and there is a noticeable fragrance to this one, which I didn't love. This also has a really nice dewy finish if that is something that you're looking for. Next up, we have 2 by Supergoop. Both of these, unfortunately, are chemical based. They do have some mineral sunscreens that I'm very interested in trying, but first up is the Supergoop Unseen sunscreen. This is an SPF 40, and this one is so lightweight and beautiful under makeup if that is something that you're into. It is completely invisible and has a very natural looking finish. This is also very heavily dimethicone based, however, so if you're oily, that might be something to watch out for because it could potentially clog pores and exacerbate your oiliness. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention for this guy, and also for this next one that I'm going to show you, is these are both completely fragrance-free, which really shocked me because they have this like fruity, sweet smelling fragrance when you put them on, but there's no added fragrance or essential oils in either of them. So this next one is the Supergoop Play, and this is an SPF of 50. As with all of the chemical sunscreens that I'm showing you, once again, it has absolutely no white cast, and it doesn't feel oily, but it can look oily upon application, meaning that it does go away after those 20 minutes. That's all that I really have to say about this one. It didn't shock me in any way. I didn't find it absolutely amazing by any means. So the last US chemical sunscreen that I have to talk to you guys about is the Shiseido Ultimate Sun Protector Lotion SPF 50. This one was pretty nice. Again, it's completely invisible when you blend it into the skin. It is lightweight. It can sting your eyes because of that chemical base, but I didn't notice any stinging with it. This one also has a very, very noticeable scent to me, and if that's something that's going to bother you, I would say skip it. There's also the fact that it's pricey. A lot of these are really, really pricey, and a lot of these are not really, really pricey. This is one I would not spend the money on. It is expensive. So next we do have another one by Shiseido, another one that I wouldn't recommend. However, if you have a deeper skin tone, if you don't care about chemical filters, it may be a good one for you. This one is a hybrid sunscreen, meaning that it uses some mineral filters and some chemical filters. In this case, this one uses zinc oxide, and then the rest are chemical filters. With this one, I really didn't notice any white cast, even having the zinc oxide in there, and it does blend onto the skin really, really easy. It has a very light, watery texture when it comes out. It's very runny, but I didn't find that to be an issue as long as you get it on your skin properly. And the last thing that I have to mention about this one is it does have that kind of typical sunscreen smell. So if that smell bothers any of you, which I don't know if it would, but if it does, that's something to watch out for in this one. Now, that guy was a great transition into what we're going to be talking about now, which is mineral sunscreens. And this is just where I live. This is my realm of happiness right here, because in the US, if you have an option between a mineral sunscreen and a chemical sunscreen, I always opt for mineral sunscreens. So the first one up is the CeraVe Hydrating Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 50. Now listen, I don't like this one, but that doesn't mean that I don't like all mineral sunscreens. I just don't like this one. This has the thickest white cast of any sunscreen I've ever tried in my entire flipping life. It's very hard to spread as well. The clip that you're seeing, I spent about 3.5 minutes blending each layer in, and it is so difficult to get blended in, and it never really does blend in because you still look like Casper the Ghost after. All of that being said, it is still a good one if you are already ghostly white, or if you're not applying the proper amount of sunscreen, which I don't recommend you do, but it's a good one for a day at the beach if you don't care what you look like. So I have mixed emotions on this guy. Next up in the mineral category is the Bare Republic's SPF 70 for face. Now you guys know that I think that anything over an SPF of 50 is kind of bullcrap. It's just marketing at that point. But I've been watching a couple different studies with dermatologists, or a couple different videos with dermatologists. I've read a couple of different studies, and if you are bad at reapplication, a higher SPF than 50 could potentially be beneficial. So this has an SPF of 70 if any of you guys care about that. However, for me, I did find this one slightly disappointing. So in application, this has a very heavy feeling and a very strong white cast initially. That does go away after that 20-minute period, which is really, really nice to see. A lot of sunscreens that initially give off a white cast, their white cast does not go away. So it was really nice to see that this one did fade. However, it has this claim on the back of it that says no synthetic fragrance. That's a lie. If you turn over and actually read this label, there's an ingredient called vanillin, which is vanilla. Vanilla is fragrance. And for them to just put a straight up lie on their packaging made me a little bit angry with them. Like I said, there's a heavy white cast in the beginning. It does take a while to blend in, but once you get it blended in, it could work out for you, and I think that this would be a great one on the body. So this 2-ounce size might be really, really good for traveling, if you're traveling anywhere to use as a body sunscreen, but I don't think it's that great as a facial sunscreen. Next we have the Coppertone Pure and Simple for Face. This is an SPF 50 sunscreen, broad spectrum protection, only zinc oxide. This one really, really reminds me of one by Biossance that we're going to talk about in a little bit. but a lot cheaper. So this one in application has very minimal white cast for most mineral sunscreens. However, it is quite oily. That oiliness does go away after a while, but it'll still be there. It's not going to go away completely, but it does fade. There are a couple sunscreens out there that are just really bad around your hair, and if I haven't said it before now, I'm saying it now. This one's not great around the hair. And so that's why I'm not super fond of putting it on my face. There are also a couple. The CeraVe one that I talked about is terrible with the hair. The Bare Republic's one is okay, but it's not amazing around the hair. But this one is, your hair will be sticking to your face like no other. Another thing that I do want to throw out about this one, Coppertone makes this pure and simple line, and they have this face version, they have a baby version, they have a kids version, they have a regular version that all come in bigger sizes. They are all the exact same ingredient list. So that is something to keep in mind as well. If this is a sunscreen that you're interested in, I think that it's a good one. I just don't think that it's my absolute favorite. But if you're looking for a cheap drugstore sunscreen, this is a really great one. However, don't get the face version. Get one of the body sizes and get a better value, because all of the ingredients lists on all of these is the exact same. So now we're starting to move into higher end mineral sunscreens, meaning ones that you could find at Sephora and things like that. The first one I have for you guys is the Ren Clean Screen Mineral SPF 30. This guy I hated. It's horrible around the hair, very thick, heavy, hard to spread in. It's really, there's like a decent amount of white cast. It's just not nice feeling when you put it on. Another thing about this one is it's formulated with a lot of fragrance, and if that bothers you, don't get this one. And I personally think that fragrance is pretty unnecessary in a sunscreen. You don't need it in there. So that is something to keep in mind as well. However, if you're somebody that is oily and you can get this to spread well for you, it does have a matte finish, so that is a little bit of a bonus that redeems this slightly, but it's not one that I would recommend personally. And then we have the Drunk Elephant Umbra Tint Physical Daily Defense SPF 30. So this is a tinted sunscreen, and when you're working with mineral sunscreens that generally have a white cast, tinting them is a really good way to offset that white cast, and this really does the trick. However, I will say this has a very deep tint, and so if you are any lighter than I am, it's probably going to be too dark for you and make you look orange. That is a little bit of a downside to this. It is also pretty oily upon application. Again, oiliness that goes down after a little bit of time, but that is something to keep in mind with this guy. Another thing that I do want to say about this one is I found in my personal experience that it does not work well with other skincare. There was so much peeling with this one, and when I say peeling, I mean that it's like balling up on your fingers and falling off, and why would you even use a sunscreen if it's not going to stay on your face? And then we have the First Aid Beauty Weightless Liquid Mineral Sunscreen. This is another tinted sunscreen, and this one is okay. That's all I'm going to say about it. The tint is a lot better than the Drunk Elephant tint if you are of paler ethnicities. It's a little bit lighter, so it should work on more people that are paler, and I don't know how well it would work on dark skin tones, but there are other creators that say it does work really well on dark skin tones as well. I found this to be a little bit oily for me, and that is the one thing that I cannot stand in a sunscreen, is if it's too oily. If it's a little bit sticky, if there's a little bit of a white cast, I'm okay with it. My one thing when it comes to sunscreens, if it's too oily, I can't stand it. And then the last thing I did want to mention about this one is the finish, because the finish is very unique, and that's the way that I'm gonna put it. It's like, it's a powdery matte finish, but it still feels slippy and oily on the skin, and it's very interesting to use. However, I don't recommend it, but I know a lot of other people use it and they absolutely love it, so to each their own. Now this guy, this is the Biossance Squalane and Zinc Sheer Mineral Sunscreen. This is also an SPF of 30, and this is the one that I was talking about. Reminds me a lot of the Coppertone Pure and Simple in very similar ways. When you apply it, it comes out like a watery gel white consistency. You apply it, it's slightly slippy, slightly oily. That sinks in after a while, and it's like good to go. So that is the exact same thing that the Coppertone one does. It just takes a little bit longer, but I feel like you'd expect that. The Coppertone one is $5 and this one is $30. So I don't know, when you have options like this, but you also have options from the drugstore that work pretty much the same, why wouldn't you go with one that's so much cheaper? That's all I gotta say about that one. The next one that I have to show you guys is the Coola Mineral Sun Silk Cream. And this one, I will say, I'm not like super intrigued by it, but I also didn't hate it. So when you put this one on, it has like this firming feeling, like with this almost tight feeling. There's no white cast with this one, which is absolutely amazing, and it has a very natural finish. And it also feels completely weightless on the skin once it's completely blended in and synced in, which is really, really nice. However, I don't know what that feeling is, and it's very off-putting. So if you've ever tried this, try and describe it better down below, because I can't put my finger on it. It's just a weird feeling sunscreen, and you feel like you're using an anti-aging product and it's just like sucking everything up. But there's nothing in here that would make it do that. So this is the last US mineral sunscreen that I have to talk about, and quite possibly my favorite. This is the Dr. Dennis Gross Dark Spot Sun Defense Sunscreen. Now again, this one is formulated with fragrance. Do I think fragrance is necessary in a sunscreen? No, absolutely not. But this formulation is beautiful. So when you're applying this one, like I said, it's heavily fragrance, but I can look past that. There is no white cast on this one. It spreads so easily. It's so good around the hair, and it blends in like a dream. It is so nice, and I have gone out in the sun with this one and had absolutely no problems. It is incredible. So moving into the Asian side of sun care, I do have one Korean mineral sunscreen to talk about, and this is the Dr. G Green Mild Up Sun Plus. This is an SPF 50 PA++++, which is the highest PA rating, the highest SPF rating that you can get, which is incredible. Like I said, mineral UV filters, which are relatively difficult to find in the Asian skincare market, but this does use mineral filters. Now this one is formulated really well. When you're applying it, there is no white cast whatsoever, and it blends to a completely natural finish without being oily or sticky or any of that, and it is so nice. One thing I will say is I did notice mild peeling the first time I use it, but after a couple times using it, I've never noticed that again. So maybe it was just, it doesn't react well to certain products, but other products it works fine with. I'm really not quite sure with this one, but that is something to keep in mind. Next up, we have the Skin Food Sunflower No Sebum Sun Gel, also an SPF 50 PA++++, and let me tell you guys, okay, so this is Korean chemical. Trying to be able to figure out that it was Korean chemical was the hardest task of my life. My God, I cannot find the ingredients list of this anywhere. I found it on Skin Charisma, and if you don't know what that is, it's a website that like rates ingredients lists, but that is the only website that I have ever found this ingredients list on. And I'm sure that the ingredients list is on the back of here, it's just all in foreign. So keep that in mind. I don't know that I support that transparency. However, this is one that I was insanely excited to try out because of the packaging. I'm a sucker for packaging, and you can't tell me that that's not cute. Anyways, this one going on is so nice. It's very lightweight. This is what I'd call a water sunscreen. So when you put it on the skin, it feels like water. It feels like nothing. It blends in so easily, and there's no white cast whatsoever. There's this natural powdery almost finish. It's just so pretty. The only negative thing that I have to say about this one is it does contain homosalate, which is a US chemical filter. However, the rest of them are Korean chemical filters, so I don't know that I would take anything away from that, because the chemical filters in the US that I'm seriously concerned about are avobenzone, oxybenzone, and octocrylene. So homosalate I don't worry too much about, but if that is something that you prefer to keep out of your skincare routine, then maybe skip this one. Another Korean chemical sunscreen is the COSRX Aloe Soothing Sun Cream, again SPF 50. This is a PA+++, so there's only 3 pluses. The difference between 3 and 4 pluses really, I don't know, but Korea has different rating systems than we do. US just says you either pass or you fail. Korea says we're going to give you a rating on UVA, so that's nice. Anyways, when this one goes on, it is so nice. It's lightweight, it blends easily, there's no white cast whatsoever, and it feels really nice as well. This one is very hydrating and calming and soothing on the skin, and it's so beautiful to put on. It has this gel texture that's absolutely incredible. The only thing that I will say about this one is the scent I can't really place my finger on. There is aloe in there, but it doesn't smell like aloe vera. It just smells like this like after sun care. You know what I mean? Like it's a very weird scent that I can't quite put my finger on. It's a nice smell, and it's a subtle smell, so it's not going to overwhelm you. But if you want to keep fragrance out of your products completely, then that's something to keep in mind. But I like it, and I didn't notice any problems with this at all. So we're down to the last 2 at this point, and let me tell you guys, these 2 sunscreens changed the game for me. If you are somebody that doesn't like to wear sunscreen because it's too heavy, it's too thick, it's too greasy, it has a white cast, whatever, what have you, try one of these, and I think that you will have a little epiphany in your brain. So the first one up is the Dear Klairs Soft UV Airy Essence, and honestly, the next one is the Purito Centella Green Level Unscented Sun. I can't choose which is my favorite between the 2 because they're both incredible. So let's just go over the pros of both. So with the Dear Klairs, again, Korean chemical, blends into the skin beautifully. It has this lightweight lotion texture, and once it's blended in, it feels like absolutely nothing. It feels like you have nothing on your skin. You didn't even put sunscreen on, and sometimes you forget that you have it on. But this one is so hydrating, so lightweight. There's no white cast to it whatsoever. And it's honestly just so amazing, and I'm at a loss of words for these sunscreens because they are so far past where we are in the sunscreen game in anywhere, and they're so incredible. Also, this is one that I can confidently say I took it to the lake and had absolutely no problems with sun rash, sunburn, anywhere on where I put it. I do have sun rash on my arms because Lord knows why, but it's still there. And then when it comes down to the Purito one, this one was the first Korean sunscreen that I tried, and I'm so glad that I did. So this one, again, comes out this thin gel-like texture, beautiful feeling. You blend it into the skin so easily, and again, it feels like absolutely nothing. Lightweight, hydrating, no white cast. You can't even tell it's there. This one, all I have to say about it is if I hadn't tried this sunscreen, I don't think that I would be as entrenched in the sunscreen world as I am now, because it's literally changed the sunscreen game for me, and now I just keep trying to find sunscreens that are as good as this or better. And so it's just absolutely incredible, and I'm so glad that I tried it. And if you haven't tried it, please do, because I have a feeling it'll change your life. So that is all of the sunscreens that I have tried this year. I know there were a lot of them. Just look at this bag. It's like overflowing with sunscreen. And those are just the ones that I've tried on my face. However, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you took something from it, maybe learned something about sun care and why you need to be using it, because it is very important, and I hope that one of these worked for you. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you would like to watch my last video, you can go ahead and do that right over here, and if you would like to subscribe to my channel, which I urge you all to do, you can go ahead and click right over here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.